Okay, everybody, can everybody hear me? It is right now 6:32, and we will call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Thank you for joining us. We have circulated two sets of minutes. The first set is a set of March 25th, that you'll recall dealt with the requests of the fire department and also a review of all of the warrants and articles. Are there any comments relative to the March 25th draft minutes?
I'll move their approval first.
Any discussion?
Well, there needs to be a second first.
I'll second.
Who seconded?
I will.
Jim? Okay. Anybody, I'll take a quick roll call vote. I vote for. Jim, yes?
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
and Bill.
Yes,
Okay. Next, we have a set of minutes of March 30. Those were the exit audit joint meeting minutes. Are there any comments or concerns?
I'll move their approval first.
Okay, any discussion?
Second, we need a second.
Is that you, Bill?
no,
Who's?
I'll second.
Okay, that's you, Pam?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Again, roll call. Jim,
Aye.
Pam, yes?
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bill?
abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, that's correct. And myself, yes. So that would be 5-0. Bill abstained. He was away. You were in California. Okay, next item on the agenda will be the matter of the articles and warrants, okay? And basically, I break these down into three major sections. The first is the category of those supported by free cash and other financial means. The second would be those that would be supported by debt. And the third would be the CPC proposed funding articles. It would be my thought to briefly go through them. And if there are any questions, we can come back and review them in detail. So the first category would be that of those supported by free cash and other. Is everybody comfortable with that modus operandi to approve these? We'll review them verbally and then vote on them as an aggregate. Okay,
Jay, they're required to be voted on individually. You can't do it in the aggregate.
okay, if that's the case, I don't think we need a motion for each, do we?
To what? I'm sorry.
A motion to approve each one?
We
You
do.
should.
Unfortunately, we do, yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah, you have to
Okay.
go through that.
All right, let's move along. For everybody's information, the first one on the free cash list was the part-time planner. The select board took no action on that as they want to follow up with the planning board and ask some additional questions and just have discussion. So there was no action yet on that one. The second one is the sum of $35,000 for the purpose of water testing Stockbridge Bowl. 35,000, the bowl. Any comments or concerns?
Well, Jay, I would suggest that what we do is first get a motion to approve and a second, and then have the discussion.
That's
Okay,
fine.
so I'll move approval as to that that article.
Okay, and a second? I'll
I'll
second.
second.
second. Any discussion? There
Sure.
being none,
Jay, just to be clear, these are, unless you mention otherwise, these are all articles which the select board,
they
Have
have,
approved.
yes, they have.
Okay,
I'm
that's
very
fine.
clear.
Just
They
wanted to-
voted on these this morning and approved them, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so therefore, I'm gonna run through the list very quickly. Jim, do you approve?
Aye.
Pam,
aye,
Diane?
Yes.
Steve,
Yeah,
Bill, and myself, yes, 6-0. The next one is 50,000 for free cash, for OPEB. And basically, can we have a motion to approve?
So
So-
moved.
That's Jim.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So if I recall from the auditor's report, we're already at something like 87% funded on
correct.
OPEB. So
That's correct.
that's the reason why we're just putting 50,000 in.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think we can build it. Yeah, okay, fine, thank you.
Okay. So basically, again, any further comments? Okay, there being none, Jim,
Aye.
Pam,
aye,
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and myself approve. Okay. The next one will be the article for $35,000 from free cash for the purpose of the rest of the river.
I'll move approval.
Okay, that's Belfans
Second.
first, and that's you, Bill,
Yes.
second. Any discussion? There being none, again, we'll go down the list. Jim,
Aye.
Pam,
aye,
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and myself, 6-0, okay? Next one is 30,000 from free cash for the purpose of tree monitoring treatment of Ice Glen, the trees that they're having a difficulty with.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Who's that?
Jim.
Okay, sorry. Second, please.
Bill.
Second.
I'll,
And that's you, Pam?
yes,
Okay, any discussion?
Question.
Yep,
The 30,000 is in addition to what we approved previously, which, as I recall,
was a reserve fund transfer.
yeah, but as I recall, didn't we approve something like, what was it, 8,000 for him to begin the,
I think it was 6 to study it.
yeah,
if I'm
6,
not
okay,
Yes,
Okay, and this
Okay.
is the actual resolution of it,
right, okay.
okay? Any other discussion? Jim,
Aye.
Pam,
aye,
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bill,
Aye.
and myself. Okay, yes. Okay, that's, next one is the 8,000 for the, you recall, the school board, the consolidation of the two districts. That actually is a reduction from the original request. And these monies, Michael, is this free cash?
yes,
Okay, free cash. Can I would make the motion to approve.
second,
Is that Pam, you, Pam?
yes,
Any discussion?
Question.
Go ahead.
Didn't I read where that planning committee received a substantial grant from the state?
Yes, they did, and there was.
Is that
there
the
was
reason
still-
for, is that the reason for the 8,000 being reduced from the original?
The original 15, that's
Mm-hmm.
correct,
All right,
okay?
Yep.
Any further discussion? There being none, Jim,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
yes,
Bill,
Aye.
and myself. Okay, thank you. Moving on, the next one is 95,000 from free cash that is for the recreation, the renovation, site maintenance and upgrade of the tennis and basketball courts adjacent to Town Hall.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay. And may I have a second, please?
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Second, any discussion?
Well, I would like to point out that I had two different town residents contact me it was in the fall, regarding the condition of the tennis courts and how slippery they were, et cetera. And I mentioned to them that there was going to be upcoming discussion and hopefully action on this. So I think it's really good that the Parks and Recreation Commission has moved forward on this, and I compliment them for doing so.
Good. Any other comments? There being none, Jim,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Next one is 15,000 for the purpose of hiring lighting consultants for the town street lights. $15,000. We've talked about this in the past. Can we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve it.
Okay,
Second.
thank
I'll
you.
second.
And that's Pam.
Yes.
Any discussion? There being none, Jim,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
and myself. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry this is cumbersome this way. You know, it would be easier if we were sitting in a room, we could raise our hands, but it is what it is. Next one is 20,000, $20,000 from the Cemetery Trust Fund for consultants to study the old stones within the cemetery.
I move it.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
That's first, second, and any discussion?
Just want to point out, Jay, that this article, along with the sewer and water articles,
Yep.
do not actually hit the levy. These are, from a separate, I hesitate to call them trust
It's an
funds.
Independent fund, correct.
Yeah, they're independent funds, and I think it's worth mentioning that for public consumption.
Good point, Steve.
I'm making a note of that. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other comments? There being none, Jim,
Yes.
Pam,
Aye.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
and myself. Yes. Next one is the $12,000 from available sewer surplus for the underground cameras. Again, that would be, as Steve had mentioned, not affecting the tax levy because it comes from sewer surplus. Can I have a motion to approve?
Yes. I have motion.
And a second? I'll make the second. Any discussion? Okay, Jim,
Aye.
Pam,
Aye.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
yes,
Bill,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Moving on, 38,000, 38,000 for Tuckerman's Bridge Water Main Engineering. Okay, and that would be a study. May we have a motion? I think it's appropriate for Steve Schatz to make the motion on this.
Oh, really?
You did all the research.
Because I'm the authority on
You have
Tuckerman's
the
Bridge.
authority on Tuckerman's Bridge.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'll move approval.
Okay, thank you. Second,
I'll
please.
second.
Remember that Ms. Tuckerman didn't like the sound of the chime towers.
Yeah. Who
I'll second.
seconded? Pam?
Yeah.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Jim?
Aye.
Okay, Pam?
Aye.
Diane?
yes,
Steve?
Yes,
Bill?
yes,
And myself, yes. Next one is transferring from water up. I would think, Michael, this would be water surplus,
Yes,
water surplus for the cleaning of Quiet Knoll storage tank. And that's 3,000, 3,690 Quiet
I make the
Knoll.
motion, we approve it.
Okay, that's Jim.
I'll second it.
Steve, any discussion? There being none, Jim,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
myself, okay? Moving on to the next one. This would be, the town will vote to transfer the sum of $97,717 from sewer surplus relative to the sewer system expansion. Do you want to give us a little more explanation on this, Michael, please?
yeah, this is the loan payment for the sewer
Yeah.
expansion done in 2002. This article in particular is actually for FY '21. It was not on last year's warrant. By law, you can do articles for the current fiscal year and the upcoming fiscal year at an annual town meeting. So we're actually correcting this and placing it on the warrant so we can have the money for the debt payment.
This was omitted last year at the town meeting. And yet we still paid the 97,717, right?
Yeah, we're obligated to pay our bond,
Right.
all bonds and debt. And so we need to correct this or figure out how we're funding it.
I move the approval.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, again, Jim,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
okay, and myself, yes. The next one, excuse me, is 96,918. And that would be the loan payment for fiscal year 22, right, Michael?
Correct.
Fiscal year 22, I would make the motion to approve.
Second
Second,
it.
please. Jim?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Jim,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
yes.
Bill,
yes,
and myself. Okay, that concludes our first section of free cash and other financial warrants that will be brought up at the town meeting. Okay, so that is okay, and this is next item. We're going to get into the debt related items. The first of these is 600,000 for the chime tower. Michael, do you want to mention where that 600,000 came from? There wasn't a study for this.
Yes, there's actually been 3 different engineering reports that were combined. One was done for the bells themselves, because that's going to be a very specialized restoring of the bells to their original condition. There's also the woodwork that needs to be done for the tower top itself and the mounting of the bells. And then there was the structural engineering for the brick and mortar. Worked closely with Chris Marsden. Appreciate his work on this too, and identifying all three aspects. So we fix this once. This should be a repair to go for the next 50 years as far as we're concerned, or greater. So we didn't want to just focus on just the bells. We wanted to have all three looked at. So we had EDM do the structural analysis of the stone, and they did the analysis of the wood frame itself and roof. And then we had a specialized company out of Cincinnati called Verdon, who did the actual bell engineering.
Thank you, Michael. I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'd like to know a little bit more about how we're going to finance this.
What's that?
I'd like to know how we're going to finance this, Mike.
Bonds.
I've proposed a 20-year bond, and what I would like to do is because we have quite a bit of debt falling off in 2025 that we would take out. So by the time we get to the engineering, and I mean, the actual physical work won't be done until this winter, because they'll take the bells out over the winter, and then the construction phase, by the time we end up borrowing and having to make our first payment, will actually come in fiscal year 2023. But we'll be authorizing the borrowing now so we can actually contract the job out. We'll do 2 years of interest and then 18 years of principal payment. That would get us so that we don't see a spike in the debt service, because we have a couple $100,000 dropping off of debt service in fiscal year 2025.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? The next item is an article for
We need a vote.
$960,000.
Agree.
We need a vote on this? Did we vote it?
Yeah, we did vote on this.
We did. So the discussion came after the vote. All right.
No, I guess.
don't-
we did
No, I
not.
don't think we,
No,
I
we
don't
didn't
think you did.
vote. No, we
Okay,
didn't. vote.
Jim,
aye,
Pam,
Aye.
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Aye.
Bill.
yes,
Okay, and myself, yes. Thank you. The next item is $960,000 proposed for intersection upgrades of Main and Route 7. The select board did not take action on this, and will be scheduling after May 1st, a joint meeting with the Finance Committee to discuss this with the planner. Obviously, we need a lot of information on this before we can make a decision. And basically, is there anything else that should be said on this matter, Michael, at this point?
Right now, we have our engineers are finalizing a presentation of what the intersection would look like, from lighting to the roadway to the intersection, crosswalks, everything. We'll do a joint presentation, and then at that meeting, the select board would act first and decide if it's going to move forward with an article or not. And then we can also, at that meeting, then if the select board so chooses to move forward, then the finance committee can make a vote to support or not support. So right now, that's the timeline on that. But we do feel like everybody needs more information on exactly what is being proposed.
And when you come back, Mike, to that, with that information, I think that we would all like to know how the improvements are ultimately going to be financed. Because the 960 that was proposed is for, just to be clear, is this design and construction, or design?
Yes,
It is both.
yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And it does say that long-term debt, the issuance of bonds would be considered for financing.
Mhm. Will we have any eligibility for state reimbursement other than?
I'm not aware of any grant funding or anything else for this particular design.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? No action taken. Moving on. The next item is 145,000 for the replacement of a highway department truck with the capabilities, I guess, of plow and sander. And excuse me, the select board, there were on the materials I sent to you, two requests for this one item. And basically, the select board approved the one that required long-term debt so that this could go into a rotating replacement cycle for future vehicles, as opposed to using free cash. Um, I had discussed that with Michael. Um, Can we have a motion to approve this request?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Let's get the motion on the table first.
Yep.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, hang on. First, second. Diane, go ahead.
What is the benefit to taking it from free cash to debt service? I understand the revolving part of it in terms of the equipment. I get that part. But what is the advantage here? I would like to understand that.
Go ahead,
So-
Mike.
So originally in the proposals with both the select board and the finance committee, I laid out that the two possible options. Obviously, the simplest one is just to purchase outright of free cash. The other one is using over a 5-year period, using notes to pay for it, similar to what you did with the fire truck.
Mhm.
So what we would do is we would take the first truck, purchase one this year on a 5-year notes, and then we'd buy our second truck at the end of in year 6, move the other truck from first to second. We're going to need 2 of F650s or equivalents and 2 of F350s or equivalents. Next year, we'll do another borrowing too. What this does is basically create a situation where every 11 years we'll be cycling out a truck, and we'll have one truck that will be from 1 to 5 years old and one truck from 6 to 10, cycle out the remaining truck. That way we're not getting into large maintenance costs for older vehicles and everything else. What this will do is create a baseline trend, which will be roughly around $50,000 annually to support this truck fleet going forward. So basically by just reoccurring notes on a 5-year basis, we will keep our fleet more current than we currently have. Quite a few of our vehicles are pretty old, and this will allow us to cycle them out. Hopefully it'll bring down our maintenance costs in the long run. And then we can have a dependable fleet of vehicles for the highway department to operate. So that is the rationale behind doing this. I did lay out how this could be done in a spreadsheet, which showed the 5-year, like I said, it would be about $50,000 a year. And it's something you actually could continue if this was the plan, basically perpetually. And yes, over time, that 50,000 will go up because the cost of a vehicle typically raises by somewhere around 2 to 4%. But other than the raise in the overall cost, it would create a balance similar to what you've done with the cruisers and placing those into the budget.
Okay,
have-
I get it.
It's a good question,
Yeah.
Diane. Okay.
I get it. Yeah.
I have a
And actually, I shared the same comments with Michael. But I think basically Michael's plan here is a more definitively organized plan and structured so that we will accommodate continued replacement, and these vehicles need to be replaced. I mean, they get a lot of wear and use. Go ahead, Steve.
Yes. Michael, several years ago, both the select board as well as the finance committee adopted a reserve policy.
Yep.
Of 10%. These are minimum amounts: 10% free cash, 10% stabilization. And the thinking at the time, because we were significantly over reserved. I mean, we were running close to 30% in reserves, was that the over reserving was having the effect of creating a bank account for the town using tax dollars. And there was a considerable interest in using those reserves for the purpose of the purchase of equipment wherever possible. So although I'm going to vote in favor of this, I nonetheless would like to see an analysis of where we are in terms of our overall targets for, the 10 and 10 reserve policy. And because I want to understand whether or not we are acting as a bank account for our taxpayers.
If I can, I'll point out one thing. One thing I will be working with Hugh Page, our highway foreman, on is this does not, and we will be working on, and these would most likely be free cash purchases, a plan of when to replace the large truck. So we only have one larger one. That's about a $220,000 purchase. And then over the next couple of years, Everett Road Bridge 2, even if we can get the small municipal grant, we're still going to have to come up with somewhere in the neighborhood of 400,000 for that.
Mhm.
April 20th, we're opening the bid on Larry Wog. And because we have a substantial completion date of October 31st, and that's a very aggressive date to try to get it done, that could end up pushing up the cost. And it is one thing that I may be coming back on shortly. And then, of course, we have Curtisville. While we have a temporary utility bill, I plan on opening up discussion so we can begin figuring out what our plan is for that. When you look at those, we'll have some real sizable things coming up in the next 3 to 5 years that are going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars if we're going to move these projects forward.
Okay.
So that's why I sort of wanted the smaller trucks in a fleet schedule, but not the larger equipment.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Any other comments on this? Okay, Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Okay, there is one thing that we did not include in this component of the discussion. That's the debt-related items. We will take up in a future meeting the Park Street Pump Station replacement at $720,000. I don't think the Select Board had time to cover that, Michael. So that's going to come up at a future meeting, first by the Select
Yes.
Board and then by ourselves.
Yes.
Because that structure has to be replaced, okay?
Yep.
And there is nothing to discuss further on that right at this point, okay?
Yeah, we'll be bringing the pump station, the intersection, and then
Right.
the planning board are the three financial items that will still need to be finalized over the next month.
Correct. That completes the debt section. And now we're coming into the CPC recommendations. We still, we want to go through each one of these? Everybody?
Huh.
I guess we have
I
to.
read them. I don't care.
Well,
Okay.
hold on, let me just read this again.
Okay, the first one, 34,000.
Is this all in one article? Or
No,
is it-
they're separate articles, aren't they?
They have to be voted, they have to be voted separately then.
Is that your plan, Michael, to do them all separately?
they have
Yeah,
to be.
I believe that you started last year with separate articles. My understanding that way people could vote on each individual article instead of feeling like it's an up and down on the entire
Yeah,
slate. So I included it that way this year.
yeah, and the town bylaw relating to our committee said that there's a separate vote required for each article.
Right.
So that's where we are.
Okay, let's move along on this. The first one, 34,000 proposed for replacement of wood siding on buildings A, C, D, E, F, and G from CPC. Can I have a motion, please?
That's for Heaton Hall.
Correct.
This is Heaton Court, correct?
Yeah,
Correct,
Heaton Court, Heaton Hall.
right.
I'll
Bill,
move it.
did you want to make a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay. Second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Okay, Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
yes,
Steve,
yes,
Diane,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself. Okay, next one, $5,000 for the Heaton Court sign. The sign was damaged. You could see it next to the building. Uh, I would make a motion for the replacement. Can I have a second?
second,
Jim? Any discussion? There being none, Jim,
yes,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
yes,
and Bill,
yes,
and myself, yes. Next one, $7,270 for a Namkey for the preservation of a bronze sculpture. Can we have a motion on that?
I'll move it.
Steve? Second?
I'll- I'll second.
Is that Pam or Diane?
Pam,
Pam, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Jim,
I'll abstain.
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself, yes. So that would be 5 and 1 abstain. 4. Okay, the next one, $10,000 for purposes of the library replacement of HVAC system in the archives. Can we have a motion to
I'll move
approve?
that.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
myself. Okay, moving on, the next one is 15,000 for the Berkshire Theater Festival replacement of siding and trim on the Mellon Barn. May we have a motion, please?
I'll move it.
I'll second. Any discussion? Okay, going down, Jim,
no,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself. 5 yes and 1 no. Okay. Forgive me, I'm just making a couple of notes here. Next one is $11,750. That is for purposes of preserving, removing invasive species and improving recreational walkways and tree work at Gould Meadows.
I'll move it.
I'll
I'll-
second.
Any discussion? Okay, Jim,
Aye,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself, yes. Next one is $60,000 for historic resources to be used by the town of Stockbridge for restoration of the Civil War monument.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Is that you, Pam, or Diane? Pam?
Pam,
Okay.
Pam,
I do have a discussion, a question on this one. and the 60,000. Michael, has consideration been given as to any conflict with the potential roadway upgrades for the downtown as respects the intersections, that will come up? Should that be coupled with the 960,000 intersection study?
The intersection would not have anything, any impact on the war memorial.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I just don't want to, approve the work and then we've got a problem with, we've expended these funds.
Jay,
Go ahead, Steve.
although it's in the next item, I suppose the same question relates to the dog and cat fountain.
Let's take that separately.
Okay,
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So basically, Michael, you said that there is no interference with the intersections.
Correct.
Okay. Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
Yes,
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself, yes. Next one is the, hang on one sec. Next one is the 25,000 for the cat and dog fountain.
I'll move the approval.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
Steve? Steve had the same question, Michael, as we did with
Yep.
the,
There's no impact by the intersection.
thank you.
okay, Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
Yes,
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself, yes. I'm sorry that this is such a nuisance, but there is no other way to do it. Next one is $5,000 for restoration of the horse trough, watering trough.
I'll move it.
second.
Okay, and again, Michael, just to confirm, no impact on the traffic?
No.
Okay, Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself. Yes. Okay, next one is the 20,000 proposed for the Stockbridge Muncie community for mapping and deed restriction for as a in preparation for historic listing of the Stockbridge Muncie community assessment of the field arboretum. May I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Is that you, Jim?
Yes,
And I'll second. Any discussion? There being none, Jim,
aye,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself, yes. Okay, moving on. The next one is 75,000 for community housing purposes at Pine Woods for reconstruction of the driveway.
I'll make a motion to approve, but I'd like to make a comment during discussion.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
second,
I'll second it.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Well, it's more a question than anything else. I'm really, first of all, the comment is I'm really glad we're doing something. The last time I was in there, which was just this last summer, that driveway is a disaster area. In fact, it was to the point of being dangerous. But my question would be, Isn't Construct the landlord or the body overseeing that? And if so, why are they not participating in the funding of this?
Any thoughts,
Can
Mike?
anyone answer that?
I actually don't have much information other than what was presented to the CPC committee.
Yeah,
You know, if there's any article that you're concerned about, we could get further follow-up on it.
well, I'm
But I don't
asking,
have it for you.
yeah, I'm asking for further follow-up. Even though we'll approve this, I still would like to know why Construct isn't, if they are the people in charge of that, why they're not involved in with some percentage of this.
Are we sure that Construct still owns it, or were they just
Well,
the,
that's a good question, Bill. I mean, somebody ought to know who's responsible for that. And, you know, anybody would go in there, you can see how things have deteriorated in there. And I'm really glad that we're taking some action to improve that for the residents there. But it would also be a good point to find out who is really responsible for that. Who's the landlord, et cetera, et cetera.
What we will do is we have a first, a motion, we have a second. We will take a vote, and if we approve, the approval, I would suggest, would be subject to clarifying the role of Construct in the project and whether or not they would participate in financial support.
Yeah,
Construct,
I think the better way to do it is once we've taken the vote, you know, we've taken the vote. I think
That's fine. We can do this
I think the
separate.
better way to do it is to ask the proponent, to ask Jim and whoever seconded this, to withdraw the motion and their second, and for someone to make a motion to table until we deal with other, until we get the information.
until it's clarified. Yeah, I'll withdraw my motion. As long as we have time, we're not gonna run into a deadline. I want to
No,
make
we-
sure this,
It's
Done for
it's next fiscal year for funding anyway.
All right, so we would leave this to require further clarification before
Related to
action.
those other 3 items that'll be coming back,
Yeah.
we'll have at least one more meeting to finalize things.
okay,
The motion to table has to be voted too.
The motion was withdrawn.
well, I withdrew the motion. Did the second withdraw?
Who
I
seconded?
seconded
Sam,
it, or
uh,
Steve did, either one of
Steve.
us.
Steve seconded.
I withdraw the second,
Okay,
and I will move that we table until the next scheduled meeting.
I will second that motion.
Excellent. It's gonna keep this procedure.
Okay, and I'm not gonna write this up as a page of parliamentary procedure, you
Can
know.
you get the laughs in
so
too?
It'll be, basically, we did withdraw the motion and no action was taken, tabled till the next meeting, subject to clarification, okay?
don't we need to vote on the motion to table?
We do.
Yes,
We do. We have to
Sorry,
do
Jay.
it.
Jim,
yes,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes,
6-0 table motion.
I have a question, which I don't know if it's appropriate, with regard to this. I know you want more information, which I would agree. My only thing that runs through my head is, how can we, at this time, go in there, which is a good thing to do, improve the driveway, but yet we don't know who owns it, especially if we don't. How could we do that? Do you get my
I w-
drift?
I will get the application that was submitted to the CPC. I would think that those questions were answered at those meetings. I just need to get clarification for you, for this committee.
Okay.
thank you, Michael.
Okay, moving on. Okay, next item is 33,000 for the purpose of Riverbrook installation of an activities ADA compliant bathroom and elevator.
I move the approval.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself, yes. Next one, 17,000 for the installation of a sprinkler system in Riverbrook.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
Yes,
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself. Okay, that is the 17,000. The next item, a proposed 15,000 for roof of 17 Willett Hill Road has been withdrawn, and no action taken on that. Okay, next one. This would be 100,000 for funding of the Stockbridge Housing Trust. And we've discussed this in the past. I would,
move the approval.
and I'll second it. Any discussion? There being none, Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
yes,
Steve,
yes,
Bill.
yes,
Steve, did you vote for this?
I did.
Yes, I'm sorry. Steve, Bill
I'm sorry.
yes,
and myself. Thank you. And next one is $10,000 for the administrative budget, which is an annualized request for the community preservation.
I will move it.
And I'll second. Any discussion?
yes, question. What is the 10,000? It says administrative budget. Is this to cover the, I don't know, what's it to cover?
Go ahead, Michael.
My understanding is the 10,000 can be covered, can be used to cover administrative costs that for projects that are coming forward that don't fit neatly into a category that they can do approved to use these funds. But I can get further clarification on this one. The CPC is something new to me. It wasn't in any of the communities I worked in before, so I'm learning this one along with you guys this first time through. But that's my understanding. It's anything administrative that the CPC may need to tap funds for. It's done annually. Looking back, it's been done every year
Yes, correct.
at this amount. And that's where it stands. But if you need further clarification, I could get more.
Yeah, I would like further clarification, just so we all understand where that goes. 10,000 each year adds up to a nice sum after a period of time.
I agree,
Okay,
Jim.
Can we take a vote on this, please? Jim,
Aye,
Jim, you approve?
yes, I just want
Okay.
clarification.
Pam,
yes,
Diane,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes,
Bill,
yes,
and myself. Okay. Need details for that one, okay? And okay, to see if the town will vote as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee and pursuant to Community Preservation to reserve to the Historic Resources Reserve, the Affordable Housing Reserve, and Open Space Reserve from community preservation anticipated annual revenues, the minimum amounts required by Mass General Law 44B. Michael, any other explanation on this?
So this one I actually did look into because I wasn't sure what it is every year after we receive our allotment, the state requires us to put a certain percentage into each category. So this is a vote that would just say that those categories are going to be funded to the minimum obligation of that section of law. And then the following year, the money gets allocated at the CPC meeting. So really, it's just affirming that we are going to place the minimum amounts in each category in order to meet our compliance with the community preservation funds.
Yeah, just to further clarify that, those minimum amounts are 10% into each one of those, which gives the town of Stockbridge the ability to decide where to put the remaining 70%. That was the idea behind the flexibility of that. So we're really only talking about 10%, 10%, 10% as being designated each year. The other 70% gives the flexibility to the town.
The other thing, Jim, just from looking at the most recent audit that we looked at last week, there's CPC, I'll call it trust funds, but it's CPC funds, which we have of over $1,600,000 that are unexpended.
That's a very good point, Mr. Schatz.
And the CPC has been discussing clawback for some projects where the money has not been expended.
Yeah.
I don't have any details at this point.
Well, I would make a comment to that. I did watch one of the CPC meetings on Zoom. And one of the comments made was that they wanted to claw it back from the project that was going to extend a sidewalk from Pine Woods where connected to around the curve where the Grange is. And understanding that some of the delay of that was caused by the construction of the new town garage and the addition of that temporary road and everything, it was decided not to move ahead with that sidewalk project until all of that was all finished. So I really oppose any attempt to claw back from that. I remember Nick Nadorf raised a very good issue at one of our annual town meetings. And I watched a gentleman that drives a motorized wheelchair. And every time I see him on that road, I shudder. Anytime I see one of the children walking on that street down there, it's a dangerous area. So I hope we don't claw back those funds. I hope we add enough funds that we can finally get that done when the work is done in the garage and so forth. That's my comment.
Thank you. Can we have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
What are we voting on?
On the open space minimum allotment by category.
10%, 10%, 10%.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry.
Okay, any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Jim,
Yes,
Pam,
Yes,
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes,
and myself, yes. That concludes what we have on the warrants and the articles up to the point that has been approved by the select board. And there will be several, as Michael had mentioned, that'll be coming back for reconsideration.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes, Diane.
On the CPC, all these monies that we have just approved, I read it, but I didn't add it up. Is there a rough number as to what all of that totals?
I believe
300,000?
it's around 200 and some odd thousand, 280,000. Is that about
Okay.
right, Michael?
I actually thought it was closer to 400. I actually have a breakdown and I will send that around to the finance committee tomorrow.
I think it's closer to 400.
Yeah, I did too.
You may be
Yes.
right.
But remember, again, these are funds that don't hit the levy. which is not to say that there isn't, taxpayer money in the CPC pot. There certainly is. But we're not appropriating these funds.
We have, it's 175 and 50, 225 and 60, 285, and 20 is 305, and 30 is 335, and 35, 375, 385, and another 10, 395, and another 40, 50,000, 395. It's about 440 according to this list. 400.
Yeah, my list shows 443,000
Okay,
and
I'm
$20.
sorry, I didn't get all the details. I did okay.
You did a great job.
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
okay,
That's one of the highest totals for CPC in several years, I believe.
okay.
Don't
you're right.
quote me, but that's what I think.
Any other comments on this before we move on to the last couple of items? Okay,
I have a question for Michael that doesn't require an answer tonight, but do the CPC votes or awards or grants rather constitute an appropriation that actually requires our approval or disapproval? I suppose it's a question we should have asked ourselves years ago, but. And you
Would
don't have
assume
to-
since it's the expenditure of taxpayer funds, because there is a percentage coming, that I would think that there's at least no harm in having the finance committee support or not support
No,
these
I agree
different
with you
articles,
there.
but,
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine.
okay. If we can move on a little bit. The next item on the agenda is Erica Olson has prepared the second banking breakdown of all of our accounts. And I have heard from a number of members of the committee that it would be time to relook at the accounts as to how they're invested, where they're invested, are the interest rates appropriate, and how would we suggest, any comments on how best to do this? Any thoughts?
Jim, Jay, I'm not concerned about interest rates. I mean, these are all deposits, so
Right.
we're not going to earn any money on these in today's environment. I think the question about returns is for the investments, not these bank accounts. One of my concerns is, why do we have so many banks? In a couple of cases, the amounts are fairly small. I mean, is there some reason why we have two tiny accounts at Lee Bank? Couldn't we put those somewhere else? We have an awful lot of money at Adams Community Bank, which slightly concerns me. I think it's over $5 million. And I just wonder to what extent these banks are reviewed as to suitability for holding town funds.
I think your point is very well taken. It has historically not been an area that Karen Williams, our previous treasurer, wanted to get into. And I think with Erica, the timing is right to look at this. There's also, I had a discussion a while ago with David Irwin as to, were we to have an independent consultant who would do this type of thing. He recommended a firm called Bartholomew and Company, which is a firm based in Worcester that does things like this. And I think maybe the way to approach this is for Michael and Erica to talk about a strategy as to how best to review this, and whether or not an independent consultant should be engaged to do it. Would that make any sense to our committee?
I'm not
Yes.
sure, I'm not sure we need a consultant. And Pam, forgive me for my comment about Lee Bank, but
No, I'll be abstaining.
yeah, I figured you might. I mean, I think this is fairly simple work. When was the last time we, you know,
We have never looked at this as long as I've been involved with the committee,
Yeah.
okay?
I don't know whether I want to spend $25,000 to get a consultant
Oh.
to do work that should be doable by the people on this call, or some of the people on this call.
I'd like to respond to Bill's comment regarding where the funds are. And it's my personal opinion that that we're the town of Stockbridge, we're a small town. We have two quote banks in the town of Stockbridge, both of which used to be quote local banks, one of which is no longer local, but the other one has been local. They've supported this community in many, many ways. And to be frank with you, when I looked at this sheet, I was pretty shocked that Lee Bank only had that amount of money in it. I'll tell you, if I was in charge of that, Lee Bank would be getting a whole lot more of that money because they support people in this town. And I think we should therefore support someone likeLee Bank.
I would
Pam
like-
has to, I know Pam has to recuse herself. I don't have to. I have no dog in that hunt, other than the fact that I was shocked when I saw this.
I would like to, if you don't mind, put this in Michael's hands to discuss with Erica and come back to us with a suggestion or suggestions as to how best to proceed and whether or not the finance committee can be of assistance here. I think we should give management the opportunity to react to this. Michael is new to the job. Erica is new to the job. We get a fresh look and let's give them a chance to respond. Will
I
that-
agree wholeheartedly with that, Jay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Well stated.
All right,
Yep.
Michael, so you and Erica will get together and advise us accordingly as to how best to move ahead, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, let me just,
That's why it's nice having people in their positions that are actually working on behalf of our town constructively all along. I think it's wonderful. I really do.
okay, now we have one other issue. We have not come up with a date for the Baby Town meeting. And I had mentioned to Michael that historically, the Baby Town meeting is a meeting that's held. Historically, it's been in person. Last year it was remote, anywhere from a week to 10 days in advance of the annual town meeting to basically review the agenda, the budget, and the articles to be presented for those of the public that are interested. And we need to come up with a date for this. And Michael, do you want to make some suggestions and get back to me and I can canvass the committee?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Jay, that far out right now, I'm wide open. So I would, at the discretion of whatever works best for the finance committee, I'll make myself available. The town meeting scheduled for the 12th with a rain date of the 13th. So of June.
What about the week of the May 25th?
Where is Memorial Day?
The 31st.
Okay.
You know, like the 26th or 27th, the 26th or 27th. How about that?
Sure.
All right, we'll have to research it out and get back to you. So it'll be May 26 or 27, remote, tentative, and then follow up with Michael.
Annual
and-
town meeting going to be outside?
Yeah,
Yes, it's going to be outside.
And it's a
Wonderful.
rain day too, you know.
Wonderful.
Okay, that is all I have. Is there any other business to come before this committee? Before I adjourn the meeting, I do have one comment to make. I would like to thank Michael Canales very much for his efforts in preparing this material and getting it available to us, and being knowledgeable on the subject to discuss it with us. Is there any other business that we have to discuss?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, seconded. And
Second.
7:42, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.